Okay, I have planted these two pots with kohlrabies. Now you'll notice that there is a slightly cockeyed T there. That is because I forgot to bring labels out that were pre-marked. And I thought I might have some out here, but I didn't. So the T is for Tarek. And since I only planted one other thing, that one will be for Quickstar. So, yep, that's what I just did. They've had a light watering. Now you notice this time it was not enough to get down to the bottom. I am probably going to fill the bottoms, but I'm also going to be watering from the top always. Especially to start, because I want to make sure that there's enough moisture at the top to really get the seeds going. These are slightly older seeds, so I have planted a little bit more heavily than I usually would. I put 2 seeds in each hole rather than just 1. Generally speaking, when I do that, I get really good germination and I wind up with too many plants. But for kohlrabies, I don't usually move them. Next project this morning is going to be the spinach. And yeah, I need to fish that out, read the instructions, plant them. Spinach, my recollection is, gets planted pretty shallowly. The kohlrabi gets planted, I think they said 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. It's about that. Some seeds are super picky and really won't come up if you plant them too deep. Some seeds, like most of the cole crops, are a little bit more tolerant of that, and sometimes we plant on the deep side simply because our soil has a tendency to dry out so quickly that if we don't, our seeds will not be moisturized quickly enough. I generally don't like pre-soaking seeds because of just the fuss of pre-soaking. Dealing with wet seeds is a pain, and making sure you have exactly the right number and all that sort of thing. So, on to the spinach. Okay, I have my rows made for my spinach, and you can see it looks like a, I think you can see, it looks like a bullseye down there. I've made an outside row here, and an inside row here, and then just a little dot in the middle. I'll probably stick like 2 seeds there. I am going to plant a little heavier because these, again, are older seeds. I'm also going to be ordering my seeds, hopefully in the next month, because I just don't want to deal with the drama of spring seed collection. I do always like to make sure, however, that it is the newest seeds that we're getting, because some of your secondary companies will sell you last year's seeds, which is never a great plan. So it's important to deal with a good quality seed company. If you want to take your chances at the dollar store or something, that's fine. I know some people who have had excellent results that way. I'm not willing to risk that, and I'm also very picky about my varieties, so I stick with companies I trust. So, time to plant the spinach. I'm going to plant a little heavier than usual, probably a seed about every inch to inch and a half. Normally I would plant them a little bit farther apart. If they're too close together, I can always pick them as baby spinach, which we will be eating most of them as baby spinach anyway. We rarely get it all the way to adult size. We just prefer it as baby, as a salad most of the time. If we get a little overwhelmed and have too much spinach, then sometimes we will go ahead and cook it. But generally speaking, we don't. We just eat it as baby spinach. Okay, Mr. Rufus says, Mom's moving around. She must be doing something. He was just taking a nap. Anyway, so I have watered all of the pots, even if they do not currently have anything in them. This is planted with Tarek kohlrabi. This is planted with Quick Start kohlrabi, and this is planted with a spinach. Nothing fancy. It didn't even have a cool name. It's called Hybrid Smooth Leaf Spinach. Couldn't have come up with something more clever than that, I guess. Anyway, I did put extra water in the bottoms of these pots, so once again they will be drawing up moisture into the pots. I want to continue the hydration process since they've been dry for so long. There's my mousetrap. Anyway, so now my project is, I brought out a ladder, and I need to use zip ties to get everything back up where it belongs. Things like that need to be tied back up. Eventually we'll be using something better, but right now I have the zip ties and I have no idea where the other stuff is that we would use, so that's what I'm going to use. So, zip ties it is. Okay, we are now looking much more tidy. I have used zip ties to reconnect the PVC pipe to the poles that make up the greenhouse. I have re-zip tied, not with the same zip ties in most cases. In other words, I did extra ones just to hold the PVC. But I've got other spots where I've tied up all the wires so they're not drooping down anymore. I've taken down some of the hangers for the tomatoes, but not all of them. And generally just sort of done a little bit of pickup here. Still needs to be swept, but that's best done with a mask on. Everything's been watered, and it's time to get on to adding water to the barrels here, because that one's completely empty. That one's got about 4 inches in the bottom, and that one's got about 6 inches in the bottom. So yeah, we definitely need more water in there. I have a IBC toad out here, right there. You can't see it really. You can see through the, yeah, you can see the stripes of the frame. That is full of water. So I want to transfer that water into here. I have to decide what's the best way to do it. We have room for gas hose to come through here, but not really a regular hose. So I think I'll have to run it around, but that's okay. We've done that before. I have a couple of good pumps. I've got this one here, and then I have another one that we usually use for transferring. I'll be able to use those, and hopefully I'll be able to come back and show you that we have full containers of water at some point here, because mighty dry right now, mighty dry. And yeah, like I say, this has got about 4 inches of water in it. So yeah, the Rufus says, I am done. You should give me treats. I do have treats with me. We're going to practice a little, I think we'll practice a little bit of training in here, and then we'll probably take him back in so that he doesn't have to watch me transfer water, because that's kind of boring. So until later, bye. Well, if this looks a little bit odd, it is. These are actually covers that I used to have on cabbage plants and a few other things that used to be in the greenhouse, and they have just come out of the washer machine, and they are now hanging on the line. They're probably already dry right now, but I want to let them air out a little bit just to make sure they're completely dry. I'll then be going through them, repairing any holes in them. In some cases, they're like, let's see, one of them over here, super long. We've got a couple here that are super long. At the time I was trying to buy them, they didn't have any short ones, so I had to buy what I could buy. But the nice thing about those is those are actually going to be cut into two, and yeah, I'll have more covers. I'll probably also find one or two that are pretty badly chewed up, and I might just take them apart and use them for patches on the other things. So yeah, there we go. All nice and clean, and bug-free, and the UV is always good for cleaning out anything that ails you when it comes to bugs and bacteria and all kinds of other stuff. They just don't like that UV stuff, so I figure it won't hurt anything to have them out here. And when I'm done with this, I'll get them all set to go back in the greenhouse for when they're needed. Should not need them during the middle of the winter, but come springtime, yeah, the bugs will be back. So until then, back in the greenhouse again this morning. As you will notice, I did sweep in here yesterday afternoon. It still needs a lot of cleanup, but it's getting there. Everything's tied up, everything's looking tidy. I actually need to go back in the house and grab some labels. I did make a couple of new labels for this so that I don't have to remember that T is for Tarek. And but the moisture level on these things is looking much better. I can still see some dry spots coming up on a couple things, but we're doing way better. So Next project this morning is transfer water. So I have been hooking together hoses, and I have it hooked to the pump. So now what I need to do is run a hose from this pump to the, let's see if you can see it from here. Yeah, you can just barely see it. There's a ABC tote right around the corner there. IBC tote, not ABC. Alphabets. Anyway, an IBC tote right around the corner. I need to check and see if that has the right connectors on it. It should. And then I'll be hooking up the hose to that pump, plugging it in, and pumping water.